Good afternoon and aloha. My name is Chuck Parker. I'm the Vice President of Content here at PBS Hawaiʻi. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this exclusive event featuring a sneak preview of the PBS Hawaiʻi Presents film, Piha Diamond Head Makai. The episode you just watched, the film we just watched, premieres on our broadcast Thursday, January 21st. That's this Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Can also be seen on our website at pbshawaii.org and on our YouTube channel at PBS Hawaiʻi. On your screen, you see a QR code. Please consider a gift to PBS Hawaiʻi. Because of you, we can continue to provide free virtual screenings, events, and programs like these. So joining me this afternoon are the real stars of the afternoon. Is Anne Marie Kirk, the producer, director, camera person for the film, and John Clark, the host and producer. So welcome both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to start off first by telling our viewers, feel free to send in some questions or comments. We'll get to as many of those as we can. I want to start with this comment we got actually a little earlier watching the film from Mary Howard. She says, "This is fascinating. Thank you so much for making it possible for us to watch." So I think that's a thank you to both of you and for being able to watch the film via PBS Hawaiʻi. You're welcome, Mary. Thank you for that. So to both of you, to John and Anne Marie, first question, how long did it take to research the history, including the place names that were part of this film?
John.
Oh my. Well, I've been researching place names in Hawaii all my life, and especially for the series of books that I've written for the University of Hawaii Press. But the place names for this particular film, Diamond Head Makai, Anne Marie and I both worked on it for almost 3 years. So, yeah.
Can you walk me through that process? Where do you even start for something like that? I mean, where do you go to get that information?
Well, first of all, we go to people that know the areas. And for Diamond Head Makai, one of the people was me. I know it sounds funny, but anyway, my family home was at Kāhala for 40 years, from 1952 to 1992. And I grew up there as a youngster, and I got to know all of the areas really well. I was a surfer and a diver, and so I spent a lot of time at the beach. So I got to know all of the names. And Chuck, you mentioned earlier that you're interested in street signs. I also figured out that a lot of the street signs in our neighborhood were reflecting the history of the area too. So it was kind of a combination of all of that.
And then my role in that process is actually getting those areas that maybe can support John visually. And that's kind of the role. And then that goes to the state archives. It goes to all kinds of historic books, all kinds of things. And then it's one thing to have the names and these stories, but then it is to put them together, to put those pieces together. So as a viewer, you're not only learning this, but you're learning it in a way that leads you in the story. So once you initially start this film, by the end, that journey you're on is shared with you through the words and wisdom of John and knowledge, and also all those visual parts that come together. So research is also, how do we best portray this visually in this visual medium to support that mo'olelo of Diamond Head.
And one thing that impressed me is what you found in the old Hawaiian language newspapers, and not just stories, articles per se, but notices, or just maybe even a government notice, or the note from the woman who owned the area down where the fish, this is my area, this is my fish pond, and that is great information, a great resource, and I'm just impressed that you were able to find that. But nowadays, we were talking earlier, for those of you watching from home or wherever you are, is that someone way back was smart enough to say, we need to hold on to these. We need these Hawaiian language newspapers because they're valuable, and this is proof of that. But there's a way now there, you don't have to necessarily go to the library to look them up. There's a place to find them. Is that correct? Talk about that.
Very good. The Hawaiian language newspapers actually go back to 1834, and they ran all the way till 1948. They are a phenomenal archive of Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian history, just information about the Hawaiian people. And that archive has been made available to us first by the Bishop Museum and now by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And it's called the Papakilo Database. And you can go online and word search all of these old Hawaiian language newspapers. And it doesn't matter what word you put in there or what name, it'll pop up everywhere within those Hawaiian language newspapers that name occurs.
And with that, what we're allowed to do then is digitally move that into the film. And some of that digitizing of the newspapers isn't always the best quality. So sometimes it's finding the best one that can go with it and to tell that story. And it's an incredible resource, along with just, deep diving on the internet and looking for things. But the newspapers, again, we can talk about them, but when you actually see them on the screen, it makes a difference to what our kupuna we're seeing at that time.
Yeah, excellent. And then by making these films, you keep those stories alive for everybody else down the road. I wanted to ask, so the Hawaiian language newspapers, you can look up words, but then how do you translate how do you know what's said in either the article or the notice? Where do you go for that?
I have a degree in Hawaiian studies from UH Manoa. Now, I'm not fluent in Olelo Hawaii, but I know enough of the language that I can go into the Hawaiian language newspapers, research in them, and I can determine what an article is saying and if it's going to fit what we're doing. I have a translator, Kapiʻolani Smith, who lives over on Kauai, and I send the articles to him. He translates for them and sends them back to me. And of course, we're doing this all electronically. So that's how I get stuff translated, is from Kapiʻolani Smith.
But the other thing to remember as we get these articles and we get this information is the editing process. We may look at, John will go, here's these different articles, and from that, I'll choose one.
Yes.
That I feel like this is going to move the story forward. It's always about how we move the story forward and embrace the knowledge that's there. So you can have a lot of this kind of information, but it has to be specific to the story that's being told in Diamond Head Makai.
Does that sort of help you keep things in focus? I think it'd be easy with all the information you get. It'd be this wide, path, and you're like, okay, where do I go? So you're saying you keep it narrow. Okay, this helps us move the story forward. That's not an easy task.
No, you have to though. That's what makes the process take as long as it does, is because you have to have all this information, but you also have to, it's like too much of a good meal, right? You've got to be careful about what you're serving your audience, and you don't want to overdo it. So you start cutting away at like this doesn't help tell the story. This isn't how it moves forward. So, and we'll have those discussions where I'm like, John, I think this won't work or this will. And we have a good back and forth.
Exactly. So I go to Anne Marie's office and we sit there and we look at the rough cuts and we say, this works, this doesn't, we should keep this, we should eject that. And it works. It's a good process.
It's a good collaboration. We have Sacred Hearts Academy and Punahou working together.
The A-team, very good. So I wanted to ask you, Anne Marie, about another decision you folks made for the film. a lot of films, most films, let's say, have sort of a music score, if that's the right phrase. This one does not. Talk about that a little bit. Why you went with what you have in the film?
Well, I specifically, from the very beginning, wanted the sound of Diamond Head Makai to be a character in the film and to be with us in the film. And I I thought it was really, really important. And I did the same in Kāhala Waikiki. There's a little bit of music at the end of that, but I think having that sound, that roar of the ocean in the background and making it part of the film carries you throughout that journey too. Um, and to me, it was just really important from the very beginning. And I remember talking to John, and
Yes.
when I explained it to John, John's like, "No, I totally get it." And I think um, you're embraced by that sound, and it becomes part of that journey that you take.
When you folks were researching the areas that you were talking about in the film, uh, were there any surprises? Something that you came across that just kind of like, made you stop?
Yes. I think the biggest surprise in the film for me, or researching the film for me, was the fact that Diamond Head came up for sale. And I don't remember reading that in any other material that I'd gone through about Diamond Head prior to discovering that in a not in a Hawaiian language newspaper, but actually in the Hawaiian Gazette. I found that Diamond Head was actually put up for sale by the Lunolilo Trust and sold. It was purchased, fortunately, by the monarchy, by King Kalakaua.
And for me, what surprised me along the journey was if you're in your car and you drive from, say, the Triangle Park by Black Point and you go down towards Kaluahole, it's maybe a minute drive. And if you walk it, maybe it's 30 minutes. But in that space, the amount of history that's there and the places it takes us, not only into the ocean waters where so many of us go now to fish and surf, but we went to India with Doris Duke. We had the Coast Guard there. So I think every place we went to was a surprise for me. The story of Amelia Earhart and how that people walk by that every day. So, and I was really excited because I was like, "Hey, this is awesome!" And I'm always trying to put myself in the role of the audience member, And so it was a constant. Every place we went, there was something for me, or a picture that surprised me that I've never seen before. I love to deep dive in historical photos and came across things I had not seen before.
That's excellent. I liked the fact you had all these other voices in the film as well. The bodyboarders who talked about just their love of the ocean and being there and what they experience. Denby Fawcett's history lesson was she's such a good storyteller. And then the Doris Duke element, I don't think a lot of people realize just the connection that she had to that specific place. So thank you for doing that. John, you mentioned earlier, and I actually had this as one of my questions, but I'm going to kind of revisit it here. You grew up along that coastline, specifically Ka'alawai. Okay, did you have a favorite surf spot then? Is it the same as you have now, or is that evolved?
My favorite surf spot on the entire South Shore wasn't in the Diamond Head area, believe it or not. It was called Garbage Hole. And Garbage Hole was right where Magic Island is today in Ala Moana Regional Park. Anyway, when Magic Island was built, landfilled, it was built right out into Garbage Hole, and it got buried. So my second favorite spot was back at Ka'alawai, and it's a deep water break called Browns, and it only breaks on big south swells. So I used to surf it a lot every time it broke, and I still go back to it till this day.
So this is a typical interaction with John and I. Why is it called Garbage Hole?
Thank you. I was about to ask that. Okay.
Because because all of the runoff from the Alawai Canal ended up, this was before Magic Island was built, right? All of the runoff from after a heavy rain that came out of the Alawai Canal would make a right turn and just sit in a massive pile right inside of the surf break. And this was the pre-leash days where if you fell off your surfboard, it went right into the garbage pile. So, so garbage hole was just a logical name for the surf spot.
I just want to add, just
Go
to
ahead.
say, no, with surfing, and you had mentioned the bodyboarders. That section we did on them, I really feel like it's almost like the heart of the piece. Their joy and their laughter on the
Yes.
waves. I mean, it was so touching to put that piece together and edit it. And I thought, wow, this is how people feel in these wahine really expressed it. But I just want to add that in.
Ah, that's a good addition. Thank you. And a lesson about the your formerly favorite surf spot is don't fall off your board. So
Today, Chuck, we have leashes.
okay. Some comments I want to get to from our viewers who are kindly sending them in. This is a comment from Alden. He says, "Oh wow, there's another graveyards. Grew up bodyboarding at the other graveyards by Walls in Waikiki." This is from Alden.
Yes, there too.
And Alden actually has another comment, a question actually, excuse me, were the channels in the ocean that extended from the dividing lines on the land there from the start, or were they man-made?
Some of the channels were man-made. Some of them are stream cut. They're cut by fresh water draining into the ocean. Like the Kapua channel, what we call the Kaimana channel today, the one that goes into Kaimana Beach, that was enhanced by dredging. But I believe originally there was a stream cut channel there.
There's a question from Mike May. I think we know who that is. What home estate was formerly on the Leahi Beach Park site?
Oh, I don't remember the name of the family, but Leahi Beach Park was privately owned piece of property that was donated to the city.
Here's a question. How many of the surfers who frequent the surf spots all along Diamond Head, do you think they know the history of the names behind the spot or even of the area? I mean, how common is that, you think, or not?
Some of them are easy, like Lighthouse is straight out from the lighthouse, right? Mansions is straight out from the palatial homes that are between the beach and Diamond Head Road. But as far as some of the family names go, like Browns and Mahoney's and Pattersons, you would have had to have lived there during my time as a child, for example, to know who those families were.
And I was going to say, like, how names get changed, because it's in that film, right? Like
Yes.
Kaikos, right? How you take a Hawaiian name and then you just kind of change it a bit, right, to match the times, and so that history gets lost. So I think you're going to have people that surf at a place like Kaikos going, "Wow, I didn't know that was the real name, Kaiko'o." Yeah.
Actually, an estate, yes.
Yeah. We read some more comments here from our viewers. I hope I say this correctly. Regina Valerie, really the best work done on this area, history, language, and surf shots too. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
From Beth, all these Kaipiha films are treasures. I have been enjoying all of them and learning so much. Mahalo. From Robert Pennebecker, another person we know well. Thank you for this beautiful show. I grew up at the corner of Coconut Avenue and Hibiscus Drive, so Tongs was the neighborhood beach. It's where I learned to swim and surf.
Perfect.
Can I just add something?
Oh, please, yes.
Thank you so much for enjoying the Kaipiha films. I want to say they're from the Department of Education, Communications branch. And it's another way of education. There's K-12 education, but there's also the lifelong learner. And that's what the Department of Education and the communication branch is recognizing. And out of that came the Piha series. And it came from just talking about the richness of our ocean culture. And Piha means a full tide. And I thought there were so many stories we have in Hawaii that haven't been explored. And went to an executive producer, Edgar Ambrosio, and I forget who else was there when I first started these. But so really, the Department of Education needs just a big round of applause for these Piha shows, because not only are we so lucky to be with you today and have them on PBS, but it's available to all teachers. It'll be on the DOE website as well. So this is the third in the Piha series. So thank you.
And I want to extend a thank you to you folks and to Edward for allowing us to post them. We still get calls about Naloko Ia, Kaipiha, Naloko Ia, about the restoration of the fish ponds on Oahu. And it is still up on our website and on our YouTube page, that one, and also Ka'ahele Mawaikiki. So please, folks, if you haven't seen those films in addition to this one, please take the time to look. They're there for your enjoyment. There's another comment here. Great stories here. Wish we could have such a show for each part of Oahu. Hint, hint. For those of you folks listening, this is something we talked about earlier. I asked if they're going to do all the beaches statewide.
We'll consider it.
Okay. Well, with John's knowledge, and John mentioned his work of the books he's published, the beaches of Oahu, beaches of Maui, beaches of Hawaii, beaches of Kauai. He did all 4 counties. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. So all 8 major islands.
And those, are they still available? Still in print? Still in,
Yes,
is
they
that the
are.
right phrase?
They're all published by the University of Hawaii Press. So if you go to their website, you can find them there. And they're available on Amazon and just pretty much anywhere you'd look in a bookstore.
So, they're amazing books. John did a book on surfing, and it's just like the Bible of surfing history. And I was laughing because I said, okay, John, I'm older. Why is the font smaller? And he said, so I can put in more information. So the font's a little bit tiny bit more information.
It is. Yeah, that's a 400-page volume.
But it's fantastic. Yeah, John's books are fantastic.
Here's a comment from another person we know well, Ron Mizutani. Anne Marie and John, mahalo nui for understanding Kuleana. These films add to your rich legacies, immense respect for both of you. A question from MW, do any of the heiau still exist on Diamond Head?
Not that I know of.
Not that I know of either. There is Papa Ena where Hawaii School for Girls is, and Makai, which is at the top, but I don't know of any that still exists. But their mana, we have to remember, this is Hawaii, their mana, that energy where they were still exists. So it's not just the structure, but it's the spot itself. That's what I've been taught by Kupuna.
Another question I've had is, so the video of the shoreline shows many of the rock walls or other walls that have been built by property owners at some point along the way. Do you ever get questions about those with the discussion about rock walls nowadays?
Well, rock walls lead to hardening of the shoreline, and sometimes they cause erosion of our beaches. So yes, I get questions about them all the time.
And I do community work, and we get questions about that all the time.
Yes.
Lots of beach space, yeah.
I have another question here from James Kwan. Mahalo for the wonderful program. Can John say a little bit about his board in the video? Is that the kind of board he regularly uses? Thank you, James, for the question.
So besides being a surfer and riding a regular surfboard, I'm also a paipo rider. And that particular board that I was riding in the video is shaped more like a small alaya than the traditional wide teardrop or guitar pick shapes that most paipo boards have. So anyway, that's just my personal preference for a paipo board. I only ride prone, lying down on my stomach. And that particular narrow type of board, which was 5'2", by the way, 5 feet 2 inches long. It suits my writing style and is my personal preference for a paipo.
And John, can you talk about how fast the board is?
Oh, the boards get going maybe between 25 to 30 miles per hour. Yeah, they fly, they zip along.
I have a comment here from Michelle Matson. I think that's the correct name. The Fagan home was on the present Beach Park land. I think she's referring to the earlier question.
Oh, very good.
The Mike
Thank
May
you.
question,
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Michelle.
Helene Irwin Fagan, I hope I pronounced that correctly, was the
Yes.
daughter of William Irwin, in whose honor Irwin Park at Aloha Tower was
Exactly.
named. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
Exactly.
So thank you, Michelle, for listening and contributing that. That's wonderful. I have a question. How did you folks team up?
So I was creating a website for my community. It's called maunalua.net, and it's telling the story of East Oahu going from Leahi to actually wrapping around Makapu'u and
Yes.
Makai. And so I had heard about this gentleman named John Clark, and I'd read his books, and I just kind of cold called him, right? And
Yes, you did.
and just explained, and let's go down to the beach and talk story. And it's kind of how we work. It's kind of kept that where people are like, do you guys script things out? Do you write it out? And we have like bullet points we follow, but we talk story. But that's really how it began. And so if you want to see the first work I did with John, if you go to maunalua.net, there's a number of little buttons there, like East Side Surfing, Ka'iwi stories. There's a number of different things. The story of Kaneapua and Kua Mo'o Kane. So but that's pretty much, and we just kind of hit it off, right, John?
Yes.
And all these years later.
And all these years later. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's excellent. So we're coming to the end of our session here. I wanted to give you each a chance to just offer some final thoughts on this film, but even the Kaipiha series that you mentioned, Anne Marie. And I'm going to drop a hint about any hints on the next project.
I'll make one comment that hasn't come up. There's a difference between the video Kāhala Waikiki and Diamond Head Makai. And in Diamond Head Makai, we used drone footage. Now, Anne Marie hasn't mentioned it, but she's actually a certified drone pilot. And she took a lot of that drone footage. And maybe you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, it's really a game changer, especially in an area that's not as exposed. People don't see these views. I also want to credit Tiloia Lapa and William Guanzan, who also did drone footage, but it opened up the story and how I needed to tell it too, to make sure that I was properly respecting, what John is sharing, and that came a lot from drone footage. And it's an amazing tool to have and to use in this kind of storytelling. And Kaipiha. For those of you who saw Na Loko Ia, it was the first time I used a lot of drone footage, and it kind of changed your visual relationship with the fish ponds when you could see where the fresh water comes in, where the awai is going, different angles. So, I mean, and that's kind of what Kaipiha is all about too. Right around us are the stories we need to know and learn, I believe, to live in our communities and respect them for future generations. And all the work that John is doing in his writing and, agreeing to be a part of this. And he'll turn to me sometimes, he goes, I am not a TV host. I'm like, no, John, let's try it one more time. But is that, it lives on. But sometimes it's not just the words we need. We need that visual look. And so with Na Loko Ia was the first time I really used a lot of drone footage, and it was a game changer. So if there's anything else I want to add, I want to thank everyone who tuned in today to watch and for all your questions and comments, because we never know when we do these kind of stories how the public is going to receive it. And it's just been overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
And it tells us that we're on the right track on the work that we do, and then want to thank PBS Hawaiʻi for having a larger platform for us to show our work.
I concur.
You concur.
Well, it's our pleasure. It's my pleasure to do this. And actually, you two are a pair actually made in heaven. But the products you put out, really, they're not only educational, they're inspirational. So really, thank you for all you folks do, and for allowing us to share it with the greater audience. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck.
So this concludes our panel discussion. Thank you all for spending your afternoon with us. Again, we apologize we couldn't get to all the questions. PBS Hawaiʻi will be sending you an audience survey through email for your feedback on today's event. This helps the team continue to improve our screenings. If you have a moment, please offer your insight and feedback. Also on your screen, as I mentioned earlier, a QR code. Please consider a gift to PBS Hawaiʻi. Because of you, we can continue to provide virtual screenings, events, and programs like these. To donate, simply scan the code with your phone. Many of you know how to do that. It will take you directly to a donate page on our website. Again, today's episode, Piha Diamond Head Makai, premieres on broadcast this Thursday night, January 23rd at 8:30 p.m. And it'll also be available on our website at pbshawaii.org and on our YouTube channel at PBS Hawaiʻi. On behalf of myself, Anne Marie Kirk, and John Clark, and the rest of the team here at PBS Hawaiʻi, mahalo and aloha.